So there's a lot of love inside the hearts of these 2022 Trojans. Maybe too much. Is that even possible? That's what's coming up next on this episode of Locked On USC.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I am your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcasts, we are always free. And I want to thank you so much for coming along for the ride. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you haven't already, if you see that red subscribe button on YouTube, because that's where you're watching, do me a favor, hit that. It means a lot. And to those of you who already have, again, a sincere thank you. And you can always follow me at my Twitter at Mark Culkin, MarkKulkin. Okay, so USC got back into the winners column over the weekend. They another road win. They defeated the Arizona Wildcats 45-37. I should probably say they survived another road win. The game was on the road literally 2 weeks after their game up in Utah. And then I should say after their embarrassing loss, not USC, the Pac-12. And then they had the bye week in between. And it's interesting about the bye week is that it was obviously a very physical week. Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch and the coaching staff. Well, I guess just Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch, because we don't get to talk to the assistant coaches. They make an emphasis and a point that they weren't taking the week off. They were going to maintain their status quo, the routine, put on pads, get physical, do what's necessary to keep winning. And during that bye week, they had some physical practices because it looked like there was more players shelved coming out of the bye week than there were going in to the bye week. Here are some of the names of players who were unavailable to play Saturday in the win against Arizona. So I think everyone anticipated Jordan Addison and Eric Gentry not playing. I talked about that throughout the week last week. I saw Eric walking around on the field. First of all, why were either of them on this road trip? If you got swollen joints, taking airline flights isn't conducive to rehab. I'm not a doctor. I stay in a Holiday Inn every now and then. I don't know. And also, you have a limited travel roster. So why take available spots away from players who you could use? I don't know. Maybe there's special rules that if players are not going to be playing and it's made known that you can bring extra players. I don't know. Again, if you have no intention of playing, you shouldn't be on the trip. Not because I think you should be scolding them, just because, again, it's a business trip. Bring the players who are going to be able to contribute and help. And I get the guys on the sidelines having that kind of presence. Sure, you can make that argument. However, back to who wasn't available. We knew about Jordan Addison. We knew about Eric Gentry. Did you know that Mario Williams wasn't going to play? I didn't. Andrew Voorhees, well, anybody who's been watching Locked On USC now for at least last week, I mentioned multiple times that there was going to be some offensive line changes this week. Well, Andrew Voorhees was not available to play, as well as Raylan Goforth and Corey Foreman. Those guys were not in uniform. So those were the players who could not play to begin. There were others who played through injury, and then there are others who played through injury and then eventually had to leave the game because the pain just became too much. And look, So I want to go back to the offensive line. So without an Andrew Voorhees, you now have to do some shuffling. So this is who Caleb Williams had protecting him to start the game. Left tackle, Bobby Haskins. Okay. He's been going there all season. Your left guard was Justin Dedich. He moved over from the right side. Center, Brett Nealon. He stayed, as I mentioned, I think he might be the only one who isn't day-to-day. I know he's a little nicked up, but I don't think he's in the same category as his offensive line group. At right guard, Jonah Monheim slid inside, and Mason Murphy took over at right tackle for the entire game. So, again, I talked about this happening last week. If you need a reason to keep watching or spread the word, there you go. You're always going to get the best inside information, even if I have to be a little bit vague about it, because we're being asked to by the coaching staff. Nevertheless, Locked On USC is always going to bring you some big-time information for you to work with throughout the week, as well as after the games. So by the end of the game, Cortland Ford he was replacing Bobby Haskins at left tackle. Bobby has been playing with a couple of bad shoulders all season, and it's not that he can't play through the pain. It just got to the point where he couldn't play anymore. And that's really what I want to kind of focus on initially as we get started this week with Locked On USC. First of all, go check out my early written articles for the week. I got my Sunday takeaway as well as my game notes and observations report. It'll kind of give you a little bit of context and fill in some, some Cliff Notes version of what we like to do here. But I don't think these guys know that they're not supposed to be winning these games after the way they played last season. Remember, they were 4-8, and they didn't even look like they wanted to play in those games, especially after Clay Helton was let go of his duties. I think everybody recognized that coaching staff that was still around, and a lot of the players were dead man walking. And that's what they looked like throughout the year last year, dead man walking. Well, all it took was, I guess, an infusion of Lincoln Riley, Alex Grinch, et al., the coaching staff, some portal players, and then all of a sudden, the USC Tin Man, they found their heart. And whether they have to, fight off lions and tigers and bears and Pac-12 officiating, oh my, they just find a way to stay on their path, to get back home to where they belong. And that's in the national picture. Playing on New Year's, playing in the college football playoff. USC is always relevant, but their college football is better off when USC is nationally relevant, when they're part of the discussion every week with, hey, are they going to be in the playoffs? Hey, are they fighting for the conference championship game? Not, hey, did you see USC struggle to beat Arizona and they improved to 5-3? That's not who USC football is. So, again, they now have completed their road games for the season. Yeah, they still have to go travel to UCLA, but this team gets to sleep in their beds for the rest of the regular season, and they've earned it. Should that game in Tucson have been easier, on the fans' hearts? Yes. But again, when you have starters who aren't available to play, including key backups, somehow, some way against they got the job done against a Wildcat team that is, at least offensively, I think people have to admit, they're getting better and better each game. Their wide receivers sure as hell played a great game. So did their quarterback, Jaden DeLaura, 380 yards, 3 touchdowns. And so while he was having a great game, those wide receivers were just making one-handed catches left and right. They played offensively. Arizona played as well as they possibly could, including with their running game. But for all that, Bryson Shaw, he displayed his Trojan heart. You haven't seen much of Bryson since he came over to USC via the transfer portal. He's been dealing with an injury. He got some significant playing time Saturday, and he stole Arizona's heart when he made a interception in the second half at a key moment, because it really looked like Arizona they had an opportunity to maybe scare USC into, hey, how are you going to win this game? Bryson Shaw, it was a key interception, and at that point, the fans for Arizona started to leave the stadium. That's what happens when you take somebody else's heart. Caleb Williams was fantastic. I'm going to go over the game more by position and by group in tomorrow's episode when you're watching Locked on USC on Tuesday. Today's episode, Monday, where I'm just going over the game in general terms, kind of my feelings, a little venting, a little decompression, explaining what I saw. And hopefully you saw the same thing. If you saw something different, let me know. You know how to comment. Caleb Williams was amazing. 480 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he was missing 2 of his starting wide receivers and playing with a hodgepodge starting lineup in front of him at offensive line. So with Mario Williams and Jordan Addison unavailable to play, Kyle Ford, you want to talk about some heart? There you go. The guy's dealt with a couple of different ACL injuries since he's been at USC. He just kept fighting and waiting for his opportunity. He had his first 100-yard game, 2 touchdown receptions against Arizona. How about Taj Washington? Well, I want to close with Taj. How about Tuasivi Nomura? We talked about this briefly last week. Not many people knew this, but he played with a compound fracture in one of his fingers. He literally had a bone sticking through the skin, but before he came out of the game, he made a couple of tackles. If that's not hard, I don't know what is. And then Taj Washington, he talked about his love for this USC team after the game. He was asked about his thoughts, when before the season started, before the spring, 6 new wide receivers showed up, either recruiting or through the transfer portal. And he was asked his thoughts about that. Did he ever consider, maybe jumping back into the transfer portal? And Taj Washington basically said, look, there's no place I'd rather be. I love these guys. He knows that if you want to be the man and you want to compete against the best, you're not going to run for the competition. So when you hear guys talking about the love for his teammates and knowing that whatever role they need them to do, that's a winning combination. So yeah, these guys, they might have too much heart. I don't think they understand that they're not supposed to be winning this quickly the way they are. And granted, they're beating teams they should be, but when you look at everything in totality, when you take a bite of the whole pie and you really delve into the different layers and the flavors, these guys have really they flipped the page. They are on a whole nother chapter compared to what Trojan fans saw in 2021. So again, on our next episode, I'll break down each position group, and like we always do on Tuesday, I'll give out my grades. You can bet on it. They're going to get an A for effort, but you can also head on over to betonline.net because they are your number one source for all your betting football and your number one source for your betting football and the start of the new basketball season. You can find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering information with live betting, up-to-the-minute scores for every sport out there, the fastest, easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball. The World Series is going on, but who cares? MMA, boxing, and golf. I'm still mad at Dave Roberts and the Dodgers. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So I don't know about you, but I really thought Lincoln Riley was going to punch one of those officials at the end of the first half Saturday in Arizona. He never got an explanation after. He stalked and down to the end zone, and he told the media after the game, or actually entering the locker room at halftime. He told the media following that they didn't even. I'm going to try and read this quote. He never got an explanation after he stalked. Anyways, I'm tired. I apologize. Here's what you want to know. Lincoln Riley said, after we talked, they admitted that they messed it up. My question was, if you messed it up, why wasn't it stop, play, and review it? The explanation given to me at the beginning of the third quarter was that they obviously didn't handle it properly, which I mean, anybody knows that who was watching. Look, it was so bad. Mike Bone, the athletic director, he was retweeting the media who was just calling out the Pac-12 officiating left and right, as well as George Kliavkoff. And I did that as well. Like I said, Lincoln Riley looked like he wanted to punch somebody going into the locker room. The way the Pac-12 officials just keep screwing up things left and right, and it's almost like they're making it up as they go. Look, until we get the commissioner or his long-necked henchman, Merton Hanks, and I say that because Merton Hanks, who played in the NFL, had a neck that went from my nose to the bottom of my chest. They need to get in front of the camera. They need to apologize, if not to USC, to the rest of the country for allowing this to continue. And this was just the latest crap that USC had to contend with. We all saw the jailhouse assault while the inmates were running the asylum up there in Utah. I know a lot of you didn't get to see this game because it was on the Pac-12 network. However, here's the scenario. Let me set it up for you. USC had at least 5-6 seconds at the end of the first half. They had thrown a long pass, completion, I think it was down around the 4 or 5 yard line. I can't remember because the official it was an overweight guy limping around. He kept standing over the ball, and then he would move it, and the clock was still running. The play clock was still going. The chains haven't even gotten down on the field yet. I mean, literally, by every metric, the Trojans should have been able to just get lined up, spike the ball, bring in the field goal unit, set up for an extra 3 points. There's no debate about this. I mean, if anybody wants to go back and watch the replay, you'll see it. The Pac-12 refs, Pac-12 in general, are just a bunch of – they're clowns. Look, I mentioned Mike Bone was kicked off. So if George Kliavkoff, commissioner, if you want to keep spinning the narrative that no one you've spoken to in the USC community is happy about the Trojans leaving the Pac-12 for the Big Ten and leaving you in their wake, go ahead. You keep telling yourself that Baghdad bomb, literally, because nobody believes you. I have not met a single USC person, and after watching this latest debacle, you're going to have a hard sell, literally. I just don't – look, the Big 12 has already beaten you to the punch with their media rights deal. Just fold up shop or burn the thing to the ground and start over because, look, I know the commissioner took over a bad situation, but it's almost like he's watching – it's almost like he's Nero right now. He's just watching Rome burn. Look, the last thing the Pac-12 wants is to see USC or UCLA in the conference championship game. Let's be honest here. The possibility of him having to hand that trophy over to USC. Imagine if USC gets a playoff berth. I mean, talk about partying in somebody else's house and not giving a crap about the damage as you leave. I don't know. It's kind of the impression I'm getting. And for me, this is what I want to see happen. I know it won't, but I want to see USC win the conference championship game in Las Vegas. But I want to see some sort of portable pool set up somewhere on the sidelines or far off in the end zone, kind of like you have over there in Diamondback Stadium in Arizona. When the Dodgers won, they celebrated and they kind of jumped in the other team's pool. That would be kind of cool, huh? Okay. So before we get out of here, what we like to do this at the beginning of the week, we go over the new AP poll that was released. USC moved up a spot. Yes, they did. They are now number 9, one spot behind number 8 Oregon, but still one spot ahead of number 10 UCLA, and 3 spots ahead of Utah, who, Utah beat USC. Go figure. But I think people understand, hopefully, what USC has been dealing with, playing on the road, the way they lost. Maybe they're getting a little bit of benefit of the doubt from people outside the conference, right? Anyway, here's the rest of your top 25. Georgia, they have 30 first-place votes. Ohio State held on to number 2. Tennessee, actually, Ohio State and Tennessee are tied. I'm just looking this closely. And Tennessee has 18 first-place votes to the Ohio State's 15. Number 4, Michigan. Number 5, Clemson. Those are all of your undefeated. Number 6, Alabama, 7-1. Number 7, TCU, 8-0. So there's your next undefeated team. You see what kind of credit they're getting. And when you look at their schedule, you're wondering, why are they behind Alabama? Why are they behind Clemson? I can make that argument. All right, Oregon 8, USC 9, UCLA 10, Ole Miss number 11, number 12, Utah. So you got the Pac-12 just bunched right in there. So that tree will shake itself out over these next 4 weeks as everyone starts playing everybody. Oregon's got Oregon State. Obviously, USC and UCLA will play. Utah and Oregon still have to play. Lots still to come. Kansas State, number 13. 14, Illinois. Wow, look at that. 15, LSU. 16, Penn State. They looked good for a little while before the Ohio State took it to them. I guess that's the best way to put it. Oklahoma State took it on the chin. They dropped to number 18. Number 19, Tulane. 20, Wake Forest. They dropped 10 spots, 11 spots actually, depending on how you want to look at that. 10 spots. North Carolina State at 21. Syracuse 6-2 at 22. They dropped because Notre Dame went into the Carrier Dome and defeated the Orange. Number 23, Liberty. Number 24, Oregon State. 6-2, Oregon State. Number 25, University of Central Florida. So what's significant about this AP poll, the first college football playoff poll comes out this week. And like I said, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the committee views USC compared to the competition. They already have 3 road wins in conference. And again, we can go over this as many times as you want to hear me say it. That loss at Utah is what we'll call, let's just say it was controversial. 43-42 loss on the road against the team that many considered would be the team to beat or the favorite to win the conference championship game. That win against Oregon State on the road earlier in the season looks better and better as the season goes on. You've got Oregon State now ranked in the top 25, number 24. They've only lost 2 games. And let's see, what else we got going on here? Oh, I mentioned the Syracuse loss. If Notre Dame can continue to trend up, it's going to make USC's final 2 weeks fun to watch. We know about UCLA. They close out the season against Notre Dame at the Coliseum 1 week after playing UCLA inside the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. So USC's next 2 games should be easy. But look, nothing's going to be easy this year for USC. If you haven't figured that out, I'm just starting to accept that fact that between injuries, the officiating, George Kliavkoff being bitter and talking a whole bunch of junk, and who knows, maybe whispering behind the scenes, making life as difficult as possible for USC. Nothing's going to be easy these last 4 regular season games. So you've got Cal this Saturday night, homecoming, 7:30 p.m. kickoff, followed by Colorado on a Friday night, 6:30 p.m., and then USC at UCLA before they finish at home against Notre Dame. Again, they don't leave Southern California. However, if things work out the right way, as I mentioned, those final 2 weeks of the regular season, like I said, USC is back. If they can take care of business against Cal and Colorado, head into those final 2 weeks 9-1, the nation will be back looking at USC again as nationally relevant, and they're going to say that's a team that has a lot of heart. When you look at everything they've gone through, from spring ball, new coaching staff, new players, injuries, and how they're getting the job done, this team has too much heart. No, you can't have too much. Never can. Just got to know when to walk away. You don't want to look like the Black Knight from Monty Python. So, everyone, until Locked On USC comes at you again, because we come at you 5 days a week, don't forget to check out Locked On Sports Today. You can get that here on this app as well as on YouTube or wherever you download your podcasts for free. So, I will be back again with another episode of Locked On USC. Until then, everyone, you know what to do.